Welcome, tourists, to another episode of Tabletop Tour Guides, where you're always gobbling up each adventure. I'm one of your hosts, Drew, and with me I've got your other host, Mike.
Hi there.
And John.
Hey,
Today's episode, we're going to be going over the brand new edition of Warhammer 40,000's KillTeam, a skirmish game that Games Workshop makes to kind of get people to ease into their larger scale war game Warhammer 40,000, or for people who just want a quicker experience. Now, before we jump into that, like always, what are we drinking this morning, guys? And that's something to point out there. Normally we record these at night. This is a morning episode. What do we got?
So I just got back from Pickleball League and decided to make myself about a 5-ounce vodka to about 6 ounces of Bloody Mary mix Bloody Mary. So I've got a stiff Bloody Mary going.
Okay, John, what are you drinking?
I have French vanilla.
It's 10 a.m., mind
K-cup.
you all.
K-cup of
What the
coffee.
heck is a K-cup?
It's one of those like
A
cups
Keurig
that you put. Yeah,
cup? Okay.
yeah, but they call it K-cup. So just
bougie,
coffee.
Bougie.
That's it.
I've got my
Yeah.
$20 coffee maker coffee from some Dunkin'
Oh,
grounds.
look, it's got a 40K symbol on it.
Yeah, this
Or
is from the
Warhammer
Grand
symbol.
Narrative last year. They gave us these cool tumblers as part of our tickets. So,
Well, there
anyway,
you go. That's what we're drinking.
coffee and alcohol.
One of us, if you listeners notice, stays with the spirit of the actual program, and the other
Oh my
two
gosh.
kind of bitched out on us and are drinking coffee.
Hey, for the record, I have had Coke Zero for almost every episode and then pressured into opening scotch every time. So it is not too late to pressure me into getting Johnny out. There's nothing like scotch and coffee.
So something I saw yesterday, and then we're way off topic already. But
Hey,
I
that's
didn't
what
know
the
that
first
this was
10 minutes are for.
I didn't know this was a thing. Speaking of coffee and scotch and all these things, right? This has actually no bearing on anything. But on TikTok, this chick was making a homemade cherry Coke and then putting a shot of espresso in the cherry Coke. Is that a thing?
I've
Is that
never
a
heard
thing?
of that.
I knew they had that coffee Coke there for a minute, but it did not
Yeah.
fly. But
Maybe that's
Like,
what
who
she's
does
trying to
that?
recreate.
well, I don't know, but who does that? Like that's
I know
just
that
awful.
that just sounds awful to me.
These soda
Yeah.
brands do this stuff all the time, right? And it's kind of weird, and especially with Dr. Pepper, who's like marketed as like 23 flavors, and then they add something to it. And it's like you kind of are defeating the point of that soda. Like, what?
Because now
Like-
it's 24.
Because now it's 23 plus whatever you added to it, but now some of that stuff. I mean, I'm a sucker for some cherry vanilla Coke. I do like that
With
a lot.
coffee in it?
I have not tried. I mean, I'm all down to try that. I mean, people. What was it? The people with peanuts and Coke. Like, I don't know if you've ever
Peanuts
heard
and
of
Coke
that.
is fine. Yeah, sure. But
Right.
like the
But
peanuts
like that's
don't
how
add
that stuff is
anything.
made.
All you're doing is adding salt to it, and the salt's pretty okay.
I actually looked into why that happened, and it was because apparently, it was a popular trend among like blue collar workers where they would put their snack in their drink, and then they would have, because it was like, all right, the peanuts don't ruin the drink. I have one less thing to have to carry around.
You just seem like things that shouldn't go together. Like, and now I'm just thinking
Like
of like
peanuts
an
and Coke?
episode
Yeah.
of Scrubs where like the janitor put a knife and a wrench together, and he's like, knife wrench. And it's like, yeah, these things shouldn't go
What?
together.
Oh my
That's
God.
what when you guys are talking, that's what I immediately went to in my head. I'm like, peanuts and
Mike
Coke.
and Drew don't go
What?
together. I disagree. That's what you just said, John. Be careful what you say on this podcast, sir.
What, the peanut and Coke? Which one
Mike's
are you,
the peanut. I'm just saying.
And that
Mr.
concludes the third episode.
Yeah.
of
Hey, look at that.
Tabletop
The
Tour
third and
Guides.
final.
We
So
covered nothing. We have, is that Skeletor on your shirt?
no. What?
No, but it should be.
By the way, quit
Skeletor
bringing
is
stuff
awesome.
up that people can't see because that's the next joke. This is we are no longer doing.
It looked like Skeletor's
visuals.
head inside that.
Steve.
I'll get you next
mask.
time,
No, this is-
He-Man.
This is my Into the AM shirt. I almost exclusively wear their shirts now. I love their shirts. They fit really
Into
nice.
the AM.
Yep.
Yeah. You
Very
remind me of the
comfortable.
guy that wore the cat shirt on Fantasy Factory all the time. He always had a cat shirt. Some stupid graphic tee cat shirt. Yeah.
Well, End of the AM shirts are really good quality, really comfortable, and they always have a cool graphic on them. So, big fan. They have some cool
Non-paid
casual ones too.
shout out plug-in
Yeah, I'm all for it.
whoever that is. What's it called?
Into the AM. I'll
Into the
100% rep
AM.
whatever brand is just making good stuff. They don't got to pay me for that. All right,
Ain't
let's
nobody
jump
paying
into
you
this.
for anything.
I
Let's be
know they
honest.
ain't. Let's do this now. What's
We should
interesting
be
about
getting
this as
paid.
well is, hey, go find us some sponsors. What's
Fuck.
also cool about this is we've recorded this episode after the unboxing we did for the new edition of KillTeam's launch box, KillTeam Hivestorm, which is Tempestus Scions with the Aquilin upgrade or whatever it is, the jump pack versions,
Yep.
versus Vespids, and Mike and John are tearing those up and gonna try to get some time to build them and
To keep on
play some
theme, I think we
games.
should say we're gobbling them up.
you're
Gobbling them up.
gobbling them up. Boy, howdy.
Yep. Yep, there we go.
John is definitely gobbling up those Scions. He loves it. They got their las rifles.
Yeah, just got to put them together.
All right,
Work
Kill
on
Team.
it.
So KillTeam.
Yes.
Let's
Kill
talk
Team.
What is
about
it?
what KillTeam is.
What is it?
So KillTeam, as I mentioned a minute ago, is a Warhammer 40,000 skirmish game. And, Mike, I think you mentioned this the other day. It's actually a lot older than we thought it was. I thought KillTeam had come out with like the version 1 they had like something like 8 or 10 years ago, where it started as, you could have kind of mixed bag units and stuff.
Yeah,
And push up his glasses. Well, actually.
Yeah. So, I don't have my glasses on, so that could be a problem today.
No one knows. They can't see us.
but I might need them to read my notes. But anyway.
Oh no.
So, in White Dwarf episode 274, October of 2002. Issue 274 in October of 2002. I think we're on like 500 and something now. But anyway, 40K in 40 minutes was introduced, which was interesting because I thought that, who are those dudes?
Play on Tabletop.
I thought they came up with 40K in 40 minutes, and I thought it was clever. Now I think it's less clever, but, whatever.
Still think it's clever.
40K in 40 minutes was the first introduction to KillTeam. And then 2 years later, it became something else. I forgot what it was called. I forgot. Anyway, standalone version was put out in 2018, and that's what we have now, or is the third iteration of what the standalone game was put out back in 2018.
And that standalone game is much different than what we even have now. With originally it was, you had your unit of, let's just say Space Marines, you had your tactical squad, but then you could include an elite heavy support, an HQ choice, like a captain or a Terminator, and it was very much like the Death Watch kill teams, which is I'm guessing where they probably got the name from, right? In the lore, the Death Watch had these kill teams where it's pretty much a mixed bag type of unit structure, with a Terminator and a tactical ring and then a sniper and then you could kind of mix and match all these different unit types from your 40K army, and they kind of have done away with that. There's a few kill teams that have kind of a mixed unit system still, but for the most part, that the way the complaints were about that is it got imbalanced, and so new kill team, which what most of us in the podcast have known kill team as, Mike, because I think you're the only one who played version 1 at all, but version 2, which came out with the Octarius set, which is the Deathcore Krieg and Orc Commandos, here 2 or 3 years ago. That set, from then on, kill teams became, here's a box, you have only the options available in this box to build your team with, and that's it. There's no unit structure going on beyond that, and I think that's totally fine. It makes it a lot easier to market, a lot easier to know what you're needing to play with, and it makes it a lot easier to balance the game by not having a bunch of unnecessary options that can just be broken at any time. And then now we're on the new version of that game. We're going to call it version 3. I don't actually know what the official name of it is.
2024.
Yeah,
most
2024.
people, a lot of people are calling it 3.0.
3.0.
And
okay.
some people have referred to it as version 6 because it's the 6th iteration of, in air quotes, what KillTeam was,
40 minutes
going
or
back
whatever.
to 2002. But like, fuck, who cares what happened 22 years ago if that's not
Yeah.
what we're doing now?
The game
right?
didn't
So
really
Right.
mean anything until the first edition we had in 2018. So, so that's really what KillTeam is. We could go on all day, I think, talking about what it is, and I think one thing really left to kind of mention on KillTeam, and this isn't a defining factor of what the game is itself. It is itself, but it's a defining factor of, I think, why it's so popular. And I think there's kind of two big things on that. And Mike, I think, you being the store owner, I'm really more curious to hear what you have to say about it. But I think COVID and then the new Space Marine 2 video game, COVID made smaller games more of a desire because you needed to play them at home. You needed to play quicker. You didn't have, all this time to, all this space to play something like 40K on your kitchen table, but you could play KillTeam literally on your floor. And then Space Marine 2 has gotten a lot of out of brand, literally new people looking at the Warhammer 40,000 universe and franchise, and this is the best jumping off point for that. I think KillTeam is. Mike, from a store owner's perspective, does that seem to be accurate? Or
so so I don't yes, but I don't think COVID is what changed that, to be honest with you. I think COVID accelerated it.
Okay.
But I think the trend to smaller format, like smaller scale games, has been trending that way for the last, I don't know, a little bit less than 10 years ish, because as for whatever reason, people seem to be busier and busier, right?
Yeah.
So you look at things like Magic and those kind of things, those don't change very much because you could sit down and play a game anytime you wanted to in a small amount of space. Miniature games, on the other hand,
and we talked about with Magic even, from a tournament organizer standpoint, how Magic has, if not the best, definitely one of the best tournament structures because it has a best of 3 option because it plays so quick.
Right. Yep. That is actually.
So with all that, I think the trend has just been going to, for miniatures, like 40K is a great game. Star Wars Legion is a great game. Kings of War is a game. Age of Sigmar is a great fantasy game. All of these games, except for Kings of War, are skirmish-based games in the sense that models move
the
individually
warband style
and
movement,
whatever, right?
Yeah.
But what we kind of consider true skirmish games are these small form factor games that have a small model count.
Yeah, like 20 or less models.
That each model might even be individual and move around.
Yeah.
And that's really compelling to a lot of people because you have less stuff to take care of, right? But you get the same enjoyment of playing one of these games as you do a large scale game. And you can play 3 or 4 games in the time. Like if we're just sitting around shooting the shit, playing 40K, drinking a beer, eating some pretzels, like literally a game can last 3 to 5 hours. Like in a tournament sense, people are hurrying to get past turn 3 in the 2.5 hour time frame that you've got, 2.5 to 3 hour time frame. Yeah. Same thing with Legion. We all thought with this new rules set of Legion was going to increase the game speed. Well, it hasn't. We had guys struggling to get past rounds 2 and 3 this last weekend.
Well,
at our local
I
Legion
tracked
tournament.
it, and I messaged you about it, Mike, with we had 2-hour, 45-minute rounds. So the way Legion structure works is a 2.5 hour game with a 15-minute extra, your round lock in. Hey, you're locked into your whatever round you're on right now. Finish the game. And we didn't have any games each round. We didn't have any games get done with turn 1 until an hour and 10 minutes into the game.
Oh, that's crazy. Even with the new deployment, that's crazy.
Yep.
And to me, from a TO, from a player, from a store owner's perspective, that's a fucking travesty. I mean, it just is.
It sucks.
And you look at KillTeam, and now I'm just going to throw this out there. I have not had an opportunity to play Hivestorm yet. I have not had an opportunity to play KillTeam version 3 yet, but I look forward to it because I think that if I set a 1 hour time limit on a game, I think I can get through a game. And I think that's great. I think from a store owner perspective, a TO perspective, and a player perspective,
and
it gives so much more back.
That's something really weird to me because and again, like Mike just pointed out, none of us in this conversation have played the version 3 yet, but even in version 2, official tournaments were doing like 2+ hour rounds. And I was like, that's so strange to me because, yeah, all right, I can play a game of Kill Team in 45 minutes. Should that be the tournament round? Probably not. Like, I don't think it's realistic to expect everybody to get a game in 45 minutes. Both players have to know exactly what they're doing and how to play the game. Like, 45
Right.
minutes is peak player, performance.
You have to know the rules down, like,
Right.
heart.
But an hour and a half? Yeah.
Sure.
Like, you should be able to have a tournament round that's an hour and a half. I can't remember when I was running some Kill Team events last edition, I can't remember what I set it for, but like I would be upset if we were going past like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hour, depending on the changes for version 3. But like,
Well,
we've got almost
go ahead.
3 hour game for Legion, and almost half of that is the first round of the game.
Yeah, and
Right.
so that's kind of funny. I'll get to my point in a second, but we all thought that first round was going to be so much faster, and it just hasn't. It hasn't become to.
We just
to
thought
fruition.
Legion period
Yep.
would be. We
Yep,
lost
and
the
it
whole
hasn't.
deployment phase, right? You don't deploy
Right.
anymore. You're just in the game now. And then we
And you
lost
lost
the
a
whole
turn.
round of the game.
Yep.
And it has the skunk rule, just like MCP does, where it's the first person to 12 points, and MCP at 16. But if I score 12 points on round 3, the game ends. There's no, keep playing till round 5. So with those 3 factors, I was like, oh, Legion's going to be a 2-hour game. Let's do this.
Right.
I like that. Let's go. No, we're looking at needing we kind of need to extend the rounds because nobody's finishing their games.
Right.
But I will say, like at Adepticon for the last 2 years, I've gone and I've watched Kill Team, and I've wished that I had a Kill Team with me each of those 2 years. And I actually even said last year I went to play just Legion. First year I didn't play any games. I just walked around, took it in as a store owner, wanted to see what was going on. Last year I went to play. I played Shatterpoint, I played Legion, and I was going to take Kill Team, and for whatever reason I just did not. And I wished I had the whole time. But I would walk over and watch the Kill Team tournaments, and every single round there was nobody playing. I don't know what the time was, but nobody went to that 2 hour or
time.
2.5 hour time frame because all the tables would just be fucking empty, right? So there'd be people like walking by and looking and stuff and whatever, but there'd be nobody like really playing in the tournament because they were all done. So I'm sure there was all skill levels there, and I don't really have any idea because I wasn't able to gauge, what was going on because I had other shit to do. But they all finished in time. There wasn't people going to time each round and being like, well, we got to figure this out with a coin flip or some stupid
let's talk it out.
tertiary
That's the
win
common
condition
phrase
or whatever.
for
You know,
40K,
which
right?
is
Let's talk
which is
out
just
round
terrible.
5.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
You're now
I mean-
when you talk it out, you are assuming the averages of everything. And honestly, you're probably not even assuming averages. You're being lenient on both players, and you're not getting an accurate depiction of what could actually happen.
Right. I could have a bad dice roll. I could have a great dice roll. It could totally turn the game.
If we're gonna just talk it out and play on averages, well then we could have done that from turn 1 and just simulated the game and called it a day. Like that's not in the spirit of the game to me.
Right.
But, sorry, Mike. Was that your point though? Was just that the round times are just so much more?
Yeah, like I just would walk by to watch after my rounds.
Yeah.
Or on my way through or whatever I was doing, I would walk by to watch Kill Team. And so sometimes I would catch people playing and I'd watch them, but often they were done in the round, right? And there was nobody around. And I don't know what that time was, but I'm going to guess it was in the sub 2 hour range that people were finishing all of, like the whole fucking tournament was done with their round in that sub 2 hour time frame.
Right.
I may be wrong, but that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
Right. I can't see it. I mean, you're talking about somewhere around 10 to 15 models, and the rounds going quick, and with the concealment and stuff, I would just think it's activate, done. There's not really much stats, and even with this new 2024, I think the defense dice and everything have become standard, and I believe I'd have to look at the cards again, but I just see it going faster.
Like we can even see it now, right? Like this is kind of the beauty of we should also, for the record, we should maybe be mindful of this stuff whenever we record going further because we got lucky this time. But we just saw the Warhammer Essen Spiel release schedule just get dropped yesterday, and we have 2 new kill teams coming around the corner with Rattling snipers or Rattling whatever the kill team is coming out, and then the new Orc Mech Knob whatever team, and we can see now that, my point on all that is that more elite teams are coming, right? The Rattlings are not an elite team, but we were having an Orc team that was 10 to 12 models. Now we're going to have an Orc team that looks to be 6. It's going to be Primaris or Space Marine chassis rules. And it's like, okay, well, when you can only field 6 guys, because anybody that's a Space Marine chassis, so like Rubric Marines, Legionaries, Phobos, Angels of Death, they have a 6 model team. Now your roster can be more than 6, but you're only playing with 6 guys on the field at the time. I can't think of a world where there are 12 models on the table and the game takes forever. Oh wait, that's Malifaux. Sorry. But
I love that game.
Still,
what the fuck is Malifaux?
Yeah, this game,
the best
right?
game.
But anyways,
no, it's a game. It's a good game.
I don't know why 12 models needs 2 hours. Is my point.
I don't know why Malifaux needs 3 hours to play 5 dudes. Anyway. But that's what seems to be good about this game is
Big
that
strength.
whether you have 12 models, whether you have 6 models, or whatever, the games just seem to be short and pretty decisive. I think the way that they've done, we'll get into this, but I think the way that they've done the victory point thing and stuff is pretty cool. And, it's going to be relatively decisive, I think, at the end. I don't think there's going to be a lot of like, well, maybe I would win, maybe you would win. I think I just win,
Well, we have 2 great segues here. We can either talk about the victory points or how Drew brought up the new orcs. We could talk about the rotations that we've kind of started to see come in about switching them out, because I've been kind of curious if these new orcs are to replace after year 1 the commandos.
Yeah, but let's talk about the scoring, because I feel like Mike's got a role on that, and we talked about this for the same length of a podcast recently, and opinions have changed since that discussion.
So now that Drew has alluded to it, I'll go ahead and throw it out there. We recorded this podcast several days ago. It was in the evening, and we were up late at night, and we were doing all this kind of stuff. And then
he's setting up his excuses.
And then Drew went to upload it, and one of us
Somebody
was not recorded.
Podcast.
One of us was not recorded.
I won't say
Drew
who.
did not record me through the whole thing. He left me out.
That's it. It was, yes, totally my fault. I'll just say it was somebody 28 years and older that was the problem.
Oh, I'm in that category.
Yep.
Hold on.
Hey, I can't. It's the Monty whatever question, right? Which door is it?
So then after Merlin and I had a conversation about this, we decided that we needed to re-record this.
Yeah, we did. Merlin
just sat down.
Merlin was like, "Look, Michael, we need to, as your therapy dog, that's what Merlin is now. You don't know it because you're old, but that's what he is."
He sat there, he gave Merlin a drink, he made himself a drink, and he's like, "Let's talk."
There's no doubt in my mind that Merlin's a bourbon drinker.
Merlin's right here with me. He's right here. Merlin, we're talking about you.
We're talking some smack. Holy smokes.
He will bite you the next time he sees you.
All right, let's talk about these kills. I'm curious on what you said opinions changed from the last time we recorded.
Let's talk about what the problem in the room, which
talk about it all.
So yeah, we're going to talk about it all. But the first thing is scoring in KillTeam version 3. So there are crit ops, tac ops, which we're used to, right? Primary mission, secondary mission. I drives me nuts the terms they use, but that's a GW trope. And then now there is a new one called kill ops, which is literally the scoring done for killing, the different, like your opponent's models. You for killing X amount of models, you get X amount of points. So there's the primary mission, the secondary mission, and then the kill op. And
I was just gonna say, they're all evenly, like you can score 6 for each of them.
Yes.
So.
And then there is also, I can't remember the function that determines this, but both players essentially secretly pick either the secondary, the primary, or the kill op to get extra points on if they did better at it, right? Basically, I'll win more.
Right, you can get half the points, I think, rounded down or up. I
think it's rounded up. Because half of one is 0 rounded down, so typically it'd be rounded up. But that part doesn't super matter, but you can get extra points. for whichever one you secretly picked if you did it really well. And it can force ties, it can be either a win more or it's a catch-up mechanic, right? I'm not necessarily opposed to that. The previous discussion was I'm not a big fan of the kill op. I'm not. So when I look at my skirmish games, I look at the fact that they are most of the time mission based and not kill based. A bigger war game, almost all of them have a heavier emphasis on killing because you have much more dice, you have a lot more units. The game is allowed to be more killy because the fact that you have more expendable units, right? But in a skirmish game, I'm very wary of killing being a goal because that's not like in the theme of the game typically, right? These are black ops, well, that's more of an Infinity thing, but these are like behind the scenes, covert operations that your big army couldn't get into the city to blow up the bomb, right? Like, I mean, we look at Space Marine 2, right? Space Marine 2, they couldn't send, like the Phobos captain guy couldn't send in, I'm trying not to spoiler, couldn't send in the whole freaking army. He had to send it. He's like, I can give you 6 men, right? And it's like, oh, well, crap, dude. Like, we got to send only 6 guys. That's the kind of game that KillTeam is, right? That's the experience it's trying to, or the narration it's trying to tell. And when you make that just kill focused, it takes some of the flavor out because none of the missions in Space Marine 2 were just kill. At the very best, they were kill a specific thing, right?
Right.
So anyways, all that long drawn out point to make is that I'm wary of the kill op, and I still am. The opinions that have changed is that getting to look at the scoring, it's a lot harder than I expected it to be, but that doesn't mean to say that they couldn't make a kill team that is just balls to the wall, good at killing. And because here's the other thing too, when killing is a focus, I'm lowering your actions by killing your guys. Theoretically, if I kill your whole team, you can't do the primary or the secondary anymore either. So
Right.
it's a win more almost, and I don't enjoy win mores either. So where are you guys at on it?
Well, here's the thing: if I'm focusing on killing, unless I have a secondary that can contribute to it, or if I don't do the crit op, the main op, and I just focus on killing, I don't know if you're going to score enough points, even if you lower your opponent to win the game. And then the other part of that is, I feel like your opponent has a better chance of doing stuff because he's also getting kill op points for whatever he kills, while he's getting additional points for doing his crit op and his
So if he
tack op.
focuses on the 2 missions and happens to kill just a couple guys, well,
I feel
right,
like
cool.
he's got a little bit better chance. I think that the kill op still requires you to focus a little either on your other crit op, or sorry, the kill op will make you focus on your main op or the secondary. One of the two.
Gotcha. Mike, where are you at on it?
Well, so I don't typically like just killy games. Now, I get that some teams, some people, myself included, I like just to kill shit. And it's an aggressive thing. I play aggressive decks in Magic. I play aggressive teams. Like I play Wookiees in Legion. I like to get in, mix it up, and like it's not fun to me to sit back and do nothing. But if your objectives are dynamic and you have to go do things, I like that aspect. But I also like the aspect of being rewarded for being able to kill stuff. So I think it's kind of cool, but what I would not like to see is for one of the teams to be so good at, and I don't know what balance looks like yet because I haven't been through it. We haven't played games, but I would not like to see one team be so killy that it can go get all of its victory points and kill everything, and then go ahead and pick up a primary or a secondary,
I can do both, yeah.
objective thing, and then do it all by itself without having to worry about anything. Like,
Yeah.
If you're able to kill, like I don't know, but let's just say, man, I don't know who has long range guns and stuff. I don't know what the
Well, that's what's cool about KillTeam is there's no range bands.
Oh, well, sure.
If you can
So
see,
I
you
don't
can
know
shoot it.
I don't want the Tau look like right now. I don't know what the Eldar look like right now for sitting back and shooting things. But you could previously have sat back with Pathfinders and shot some stuff, and then killed some things, and then you could still go in and get your
And
objectives.
do the mission.
If you're able to kill someone's whole team or half their team by turn 2 in 30 minutes, that's really going to kind of suck.
Yeah.
Unless if the people are really bad and they just move them out in the open. I mean,
Yeah, if your opponent screws up, that's not a game issue.
That's just fuck around, find out, and
Right.
you messed up. But if you're using reasonable tactics and stuff like that, and you just can't get around someone being able to find you, snipe you, and then do their thing, that's going to kind of suck. But I guess
Right.
where I'm at, it looks balanced. I want to play it and see. I would like to score victory points by killing things. I think that's a good thing, and I look forward to it. So,
Well, I think you kind of have come to a similar conclusion to me. Is that, like, again, I'm just wary. I'm not against it. It's just that a lot of it is going to come down to teams. You're totally right, because one of the things that is cool about KillTeam is there's no points, right? You just build your team based off of, here's a pool of guys. You're playing veteran guardsmen. They can bring this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and then a generic guardsman. You can, but you might have 5 gunners. You can only bring one of them, right? That's the balance factor. And so when they make these special kill teams that get like an exception to where, like, normally, right, you're mentioning, well, you can't, well, how, I don't know what long range looks like, and I think you mean is like snipers, right? These very powerful, I can shoot you through concealment, or I'm going to be on a vantage point dictating the battlefield. How strong are those pieces? How strong do they make them? And also the availability a team would have to them. So, like, if Tau get a team where they can have now, instead of just the 1 rail rifle, they can bring 3 rail rifles. It's like, oh, okay, well, they might like the kill op more because they kind of break the mold of the 1-1-1-1, and now that ruins it. So
yeah, because even Vespids have a rail rifle at this point, right?
Right. Yeah, every team pretty much has some kind of long range weapon.
You look at something that is, that's kind of their core thing.
Yeah.
And they get, like you say, multiples of those things. So
how oppressive is that to play with?
Drink update. I finished the Bloody Mary. So I went to the refrigerator. I looked for my Modelo Negro. Didn't have that. I guess my father-in-law drank all those unbeknownst to me when they were here all last week. So I had to make a michelada out of a Modelo Especial. So now I have that.
What the fuck is a michelada? All right. So next change. I think
I can't keep up.
I'm finally still on my coffee.
Yeah, I still have my coffee. Still going.
Come on, guys.
So I think
who am I even podcasting with?
A bunch of rookies. I have
That's what I'm saying.
This one
you guys are half
Johnny
my age
Walker Black that
is
just chilling in my cabinet.
Stuff up.
I don't mind having a little bit of morning scotch. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, get on it. We'll have some Irish coffee.
Well, I'm about low on coffee. I'm going to get the refill, but so the next thing that I've noticed that changed, and I'm just going to kind of go down it. I think we should savor the rotation point because it's probably the biggest talking point to the end here.
Right.
A couple quick ones that are easy. Off the board deployment, which, like, as many people who play GW games would know it as Deep Strike. We've got our first version of that now with the Tempestus Scion change. They have a token. They can have part of their team off the board, and they can deploy a token instead that they move each round. And the guys can come in, I think, 3 inches from that token. So what that is represented by is like the Valkyrie that they're jumping out of is flying overhead, and they can move their drop zone as they go, and that's pretty neat. It doesn't seem busted, or because sometimes Deep Strike can be really powerful. This seems good. It doesn't seem broken, and that's where I want.
Right.
I want every game mechanic to be. Another quick one is it looks like obscuring has changed, and again, mind you guys, we're all not have played yet, but from just watching videos and reading the rules a bit, obscuring doesn't seem to be total, like you can't see through this. It now just removes a number of hits, and then it's just basically normal cover outside of that. And then the last one that I've saw that was kind of interesting is scouting has changed, and like more importantly, like barricades just don't exist like they used to. They still are in the game, but now you have, and this also goes to equipment. There are, before, I believe you had 10 equipment points, and you could buy whatever equipment you wanted for your kill team. Now you only have, there are no points. You just get to pick 4 pieces of equipment, and that includes a generic list of equipment, which one of those is barricades. So if you want extra terrain in your deployment zone, you can pick those. And then scouting was the rule that determined who went first in the previous edition. It's still around, and what it is like both players pick a number secretly, 1, 2, or 3, and it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors thing with like 1 beats 2, 2 beats 3, 3 beats 1. Whoever wins that picks the order of who goes first, but you also got a bonus. So like before, it was you got a free move, you got to change a concealment to an engagement, or an engagement to concealment, or you got to put down an extra barricade. Now it is you get an extra piece of equipment, you get to do a free move, and I can't ever remember the third one. John, do you remember what the third one is?
I don't remember the third one off the top of my head.
But the
we said it last time, and I was like, "Oh, go look at this," and I totally forgot to go look at that.
Well, I wanted to backtrack for a second too.
Yeah,
while you're thinking about this. So on the kill ops thing, something I think that is very cool also is that they've made this table, right? So if you've got, I don't know what the numbers are. I don't have the table in front of me. I can get it, I guess. But if you have 6 models up to like 14
talking about
models
the KillTeam
or
board
whatever.
size?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about the kill ops chart.
Oh, gotcha.
So it awards you victory points if you're playing 1v1. It awards you victory points based on how many models you kill, based on how many models they brought to the game, which I think is a very good thing, right? So instead of like a 1 victory point for 1 model, or you don't get any until you kill the whole team or whatever. There's a chart,
smaller.
And I think that's pretty cool too, because like if you did bring like, and I don't know who's a good example because Tyranids aren't out there yet. So who's a horde? Like maybe an
like Guardsman
team
could bring like 14 people before.
Okay, so Guardsman is a good example. If you had 14,
Space Marines bring 6.
Like if you kill the first 4 to 6, you get a victory point. If you kill 3 more, you get another victory point, up to the maximum number of victory points you can get for killing all their guys. So I think that's kind of cool how it's graduated up, and you get those as you move along through the game.
Yeah, there's definitely some foresight into like balancing it, right? Like it could have easily just been every 2 models you kill, you get a point. But now Space Marines are broken because they only run 6 guys, so you're only ever going to get 3 points, right? So they definitely took some consideration. That is a cool call out for sure. But then you're not punished for being a swarm army either, which you're already in a lot of people's cases. Like for those of who never played KillTeam, and this is another way they balance when we were talking about time factor in rounds. Depending on usually what the team you're playing, each unit has an action point limit, which is how many actions they can take in a turn. Horde armies, so bigger teams like Guardsmen, who have 14 models, each of their guys only get to do 2 actions. But more elite teams like Space Marines, they get 3 actions per model, and sometimes they can even do a free action on top of that. So like your models you might have 8 more models than me, but activation wise, we're either the same or only a couple off. And then there's also even the new, and it's not necessarily new, but they've changed it, the Overwatch, and I don't think it's called Overwatch anymore, but if you have activated all your models and your opponent's still activating models, you get to make like a move or a mission action or a shoot. You get to do an action with one of your guys who's, I think, in an engagement state.
Oh yeah, that was called count. Is that called counter something?
Counterplay or something like that. Yeah. And then also on the scout thing, it's ploy is the other one. So it's you can change you can use a strategic ploy, which is like your command abilities, for free the first round.
Yeah.
So you get to either do a move, you get to pick a new piece of equipment, an additional piece of equipment, or a free ploy, which is pretty big.
I'm going to say for the equipment, I'm, not to derail too much.
No, you're good.
I'm a little bit worried. I know there's the general equipment. Each faction has their own, but I'm afraid like the general equipment, there's going to be like, I'm hoping the general equipment's not going to be better than whatever the faction equipment is. It's like you will always take this equipment for every team you run, no matter what. Since you took away the pointing system, I'm afraid, because I see that a lot in some of the games. It's like, hey,
auto picks.
You auto pick this 100%. You will never, ever, ever run this without taking these things.
So I haven't looked through it yet, but I have to assume that based on equipment numbers and those kind of things and whatever, that you couldn't take more of the most broken gun. Or if you had 14 models, you're probably relegated to the crummier guns in general because this dude can't carry a railgun, for instance, or something like that.
Well, and he's even going on to talk about like equipment as in like KillTeam's kind of weird in the fact that like you have like your railgun guy, right? Like you're limited on which operatives you can pick, but like railgun is an operative. But then there's equipment even beyond that, like well,
the grenades and
grenades,
Yeah,
all that stuff,
barricades,
and
more barricades.
ritual
yeah.
knives, like. And so now, John, and I think we talked about this before. You've brought this up to me, and I totally understand the concern, right? Everybody wants options to always be options, not auto includes.
Right.
But the thing about it is, whether it's points or not, people are always going to. If you give me 10 points or you give me 4 choices, there's always going to be a recipe that's figured out, and everybody's going to always pick it. Like when I played Legionaries, it didn't matter what I was playing. I always picked these same, 10 points worth of items, with the exception of like, well, these 1 or 2 matchups. And that's the spirit of the design of KillTeam is equipment is supposed to be your counterplays to what your opponent's playing. So most of the time, if it doesn't matter, right? If I'm playing Space Marines versus Space Marines, okay, well my operatives are capable of killing Space Marines. I don't need anything extra. So I'll just pick these extra bonuses that I want to give my guys to maybe, make them a little more efficient. But if I'm playing like Felgor Ravagers and I'm playing against Space Marines, oh, well, crap. My Felgor Ravagers are really good against Veteran Guardsmen because they're squishy and my chainswords will just shred them. But my little knives and chainswords can't get through Astartes armor. So I'm going to buy grenades for everybody on my team. So I have an AP weapon now. Like I'm going to buy a crack grenade. That's the point of equipment in KillTeam, and I don't know if it's. I would be surprised if it's changed, but the order of operations for the pregame setup shows that. And what I mean by that is both players have picked their team and their operatives, and then you pick equipment, because equipment is supposed to be your opportunity to make a balanced game. So if I see that I've picked Felgor Ravagers, here's the 10 operatives I'm playing, you're playing Space Marines, and here's the 6 operatives you're playing, crap, I did not bring the guy who can handle that. Time to give everybody grenades, right? It's their form
I think
of...
that's perfect.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, and I think that's perfect. So
it's good.
To me, that's like sideboarding. Like,
yep,
like if
it's
you were in
sideboard.
Magic and you laid your whole Magic deck out, and they laid their whole Magic deck out, and you're like, okay, from my sideboard, I'm going to pull these cards in and take these cards out, so that you have like a reasonable game between the two.
And miniature games have to
great.
be smart about how they sideboard, because unlike in Magic, you're not doing a best of 3. You don't get to lose the first game and then sideboard. You have to have those opportunities to sideboard before the game has started, because you're getting one game.
Sure.
Right.
And that's their way to do that. So
I agree. I think it's great. So
it's just one of those things that they have to balance.
There's going to be a tremendous difference, because I would assume that there are going to be significantly different stratagems for each team itself, right? Like one is just going to sit back and shoot. One's going to be a mid-range game where you go, you shoot, you melee, you do whatever. One's going to be where you try to rush in, you try to be sneaky, you try to melee if you can, otherwise you just stay out of the fray and that kind of stuff. And they're each going to need different equipment as they go through the thing. And I think it's kind of a pretty good system. Now, having said that, we haven't played any games of it yet, so we don't really know. But I think we'll see.
Well, and even if we had played, here's the truth of it, guys. Like for the tourists listening in, even if we had played 5 games by now, like, first of all, it wouldn't have been possible for us to play, the 50 games we would need to have an actual, like, informed, true decision on this. Because you know how many games, you guys, the tourists listening in, don't act like you're any different, but, like, we'll look at Star Wars Legion right now. We were, John and I were in love with the game when it first came out. The start of the edition is always the most exciting and forgiving point of the edition. And 50 games from now, when we've got, some games under our belt, we can start to see if there's any actual problems. Currently, all we can do, it's like a weatherman, right? All we can do is forecast. Currently, we see clear skies for KillTeam, like,
so
based on everything we're seeing.
That honestly highlights another beauty of KillTeam over, like, I love Legion, but that highlights a beauty of KillTeam over Legion, where, like, if you were in Legion and you were 100% devoted to Rebels, let's just say, and there's so many ways you can build Rebels, right? But man, if they just suck if let's just say they just stone cold fucking suck.
Stone
Like,
Cold fucking suck.
Yeah, I'm over here a Rebel player, but yeah,
So I'm just saying if,
yeah, if
so
I'm
if you had to pivot, you've got to decide on who you're going to play, and you've got to build like 1,000 points of dudes from another faction that you don't currently have. In KillTeam, you buy one little box for $60, man, and you're good to go. You put 7 models together, and you're fucking like right in. I think that's a fantastic way for these games to be, is to have so many options for the people to be able to play and to play so quickly. Like pivoting to. I mean, like honestly, if you go home, if you got pissed at a tournament today, and you said, fuck this, I'm not going to play Crew anymore. I'm going to play like Commandos, because Commandos, just so we know, I have looked this up, Commandos is the most popular kill team that has ever been played since the inception of KillTeam in 2018. But nevertheless, say, I'm done with Crew, I'm going to play Commandos. You buy the box, you put the dudes together tonight, because you can literally put 6 or 7 models together tonight. You spray them black. No one gives 2 shits if you bring up a primed set of dudes or a gray set of dudes to league play on Wednesday, but you can pivot in literally like one day.
Right. Yeah,
and I think that's great.
I think that's honestly a great segue into the last like big change we're seeing with KillTeam, is that now there is a like pseudo rotation that's coming out, right? And what we mean by that is, we've got some. This is also a pretty big
topic. So hang on.
Okay.
It's not actually a pseudo rotation. They have actually notated it as a rotation.
Well, so
like,
it depends on.
They've said it's rotation, right?
Right. The reason I say pseudo is because it's up to you as the player to decide if you want it.
Right. Like it's used for competitive play, but for casual play, you can say, hey, you can use stuff.
Yeah, you're
that's
not
out of
hard
rotation.
out.
Okay, that's
right?
fair. So if you're playing classified stuff, only.
Well, let's define what it is first, because we're getting into
go
stuff.
Ahead.
So what it is we'll definitely jump into that in a second. But what it is, for those that are listening, is they've announced that there is the tournament play, the structured form of tournament play that GW is hosting is called Classifieds, and what that means is teams that come out will have rules. They will make rules for every team that will last and be eligible for, I believe they said, 2 editions of the game. But there are classified teams which will only be valid in tournament play for a season. And a season has been defined as, on average, 12 months. It could be longer, it could be shorter. And so what that tells me is that you can buy your Orc Commandos. Like they have a graphic that shows all the teams that are out right now are announced. And like Commandos are only going to be valid for year 1 of classified play, which means whenever they start this next season, I don't know when that is. I don't know if it's now since the game's launched or if they have to announce it, but they'll only be valid for around 12 months from launch. But if 2 years from now, if we're in classified season 2, you can still play your Commandos. They will still have rules. You just cannot play them at a classified tournament.
Right.
So kill teams will have rules for 2 editions, but they may not be valid for tournament play specifically. So that's kind of what all this is that we're talking about. One other thing to add to that before we all just jump in on it is, we don't know if they're counting version 2 as one of those 2 years of having rules. So like Commandos, for example, have been out since version 2. They were the launch team for version 2. So they've had rules already for a whole other edition. They also are going to get rules for version 3. But does that mean in version 4 they won't have rules? We don't know. We don't know what they're starting where that timer started. So Mike, you're going to say though about the rotation and the classifieds?
Oh, so I think it's going to depend on, I don't even know how the tournament structure is going to work. So, we see one big tournament at Adepticon every year. KillTeam has not been well represented and tournament play, except as a side tournament type of thing. So we'll see with this iteration whether FLG picks it up as a major tournament or not. But classified versus non-classified, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's important or not yet, because if it's classified only, currently it's only GTs, not GTs, but
GW Opens.
GW Opens and GW Worlds.
Yeah,
That's
any
the only
official GW sponsored event will be a classified.
So beyond that, let's just say FLG picks it up and they have it at Lone Star Open, they have it at LVO, they have it at wherever else they hold
and really quick
FLG
on that,
events.
FLG does have KillTeam at every single one of their events.
Well, and that's fine, but it's a side event. It's a smaller event. I don't know what I mean by side event other than
smaller event
it's not
is
the main
correct.
thing.
It's
you're always looking at Legion, 40K, and AOS being the three main things, right? Because they're the large format events. But if KillTeam continues to catch on and take up space as it has, it's increased tables the last 2 years at Adepticon. I've seen it. So that means it's going to be important. And if it takes a larger portion of their tournament space, then as we go forward, are those classified or are those non-classified?
Right.
If they're non-classified, does FLG then dictate what the rule set is on what the rotation is or something like that, which is fine. I don't really give two shits because FLG has picked up where GW fell off a decade ago, right? That's how FLG got into the business of running tournaments was that GW just quit. So
right. I can almost see the classifieds being what the tournament standard will be. I think that's GW's way of saying, hey, this set is what we know is the most balanced set we've come out with, and if we don't play with those classifieds, you're gonna lean one way or another, and we haven't tested enough. I don't know if that's due to their play testers, they just don't have enough or what. But
if we end up nerfing, all these teams that are now in classified season 2, and Commandos weren't part of that R&D nerf, and you choose to play Commandos against a bunch of classified season 2 teams, while they don't feel bad against each other, maybe they just, oh wow, Commandos just rule the game if we do that. And I think the other big part of this is that while FLG definitely does what they want, and I love that, that's their best quality, it was from an absent GW. There is no longer an absent GW, right? They're involved, right? They are heavily involved with FLG. And at this point, they take what FLG wants into consideration, but FLG's not as necessarily driven to do what they do whatever anymore because GW is here to do it for them, right? And it's a symbiotic relationship.
But hang on. Is GW super involved in actual competitive play?
All day.
You think so?
I think so. I think they're what they think they are at the very least, and that's all that matters.
So yeah, they think they're a lot, but anyway. So okay, where are we at?
So
what are we talking about next?
We were talking about classifieds. Where are we at on classifieds? How do we feel about it?
I think classifieds. I like the rotation system. My biggest thing is I want to make sure that for faction specific, anybody who's losing their stuff after year 1 because it was in the last edition, their faction still gets something to play with that's going to come in the new rotation.
And that fear has been somewhat answered, right? That's kind of what's fun about recording this twice, is that was the biggest thing we were all scared about when we recorded this the first time, was Orc Commandos are going to be gone in a year. Orcs don't have another kill team. What the heck is going to happen to Orcs? And you could say that about Veteran Guardsmen, too. Well, the very first 2 new kill teams that are coming out after the Hivestorm box are an Imperial Guard Rattling team and a new Orc Knob team. Go ahead, Mike.
So I don't think that GW is ever... Okay, so we've talked about this as friends and whatever offline, but GW is in the business of selling models, right?
Sure.
They're never going to create a rule set that excludes a set of models.
Tyranids have never had a kill team
Yeah,
in any version of the game. Boom.
Man, fuck off, because
those
Tyranids...
poor guys.
People who don't even play
Okay, that's
Tyranids
not
are like,
true.
where are they at?
That's not fucking true. That's not true.
You can't count compendium
Because...
teams. That doesn't matter.
Okay, well, it does.
It doesn't. Especially
it does,
since compendium
because you have
teams are
had the
gone
ability
now.
to build a team out of Termagants, Hormagaunts,
Warriors and Gene Stealers
and Warriors. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
But I'm just saying.
So then currently, as rules is written, current state of the game is online right now. There is no Tyranid kill team. Because there are no compendium teams.
It's coming.
Come and excludes me now. Right? If I'm a
Boy,
Tyranid
it
player,
should
you're
have
still
been here to
excluding
go
me.
with the
It
Space
should have
Marines
been here
too.
already. It should have already been here.
Anyway,
I will tell you, like, oh, go ahead.
Nevertheless, I think that, you know, I don't even know where I was going.
Yeah. You
Okay,
got
well,
blitzed.
I'll go with what I'm
blitzed
going.
him, John. We figured out our tactic.
So I happened to be. I was
At
at the
this
store
point-
yesterday, and I saw somebody buying one of the new kill teams, and I was like, "Oh, what are you most excited to play?" And he's like, "You know, I
Tyranids.
love playing. Yeah, he's like, I love Tyranids. I wish that they were part of it. He's like, I'm just gonna pick up one of these teams until they do come out with it." And I'm thinking in the back of my head, boy, I hope GW comes out with something for Tyranids.
Well, I hope they do too. I mean, like, it would be super cool to have like 3 Gaunts, 2 Warriors, and a Lictor.
Well, and here's the
Something like
thing,
that.
right? It's like, if they're like, Tyranids have characters, like named characters.
Well, they do,
So
but
it's
they're
not
all
like-
big and bad.
Well, sure,
Like
but
the
one
Red
of them's a
Terror.
Lictor. There's a Lictor,
Well,
right?
Right,
Like,
the Red Terror or the Red whatever.
Right.
You know, an old One Eye, but you can't put fucking
you can't
like
put a
those.
Carnifex out, but you can put a Lictor out. You 100%
Well,
can.
yeah,
You
I just
build
said you
it.
could do like some Tormagants, some Warriors, and a Lictor.
You build it just like the Necron team. So the Necron team design is you can have Immortals or Deathmarks as your base infantry dudes. So you could have, you know, a Warrior or 2, or, you know, a Gene Stealer. A Gene Stealer is probably a better elite, you know, smaller troop. And then what it is it's like, oh, there's like a pool of like 3 or 4 character kind of units that you can bring in. And like, if you bring a Cryptek, he counts as 2 of your Immortals you could have brought. So you could be like, all right, I have a Gene Stealer kill team, but I can bring
Yeah,
a
but do
Lictor.
Gene
The
Stealers
Lictor
feel like?
counts as 3
Do
of
Gene
my
Stealers feel
dudes.
like Tyranids, or do they feel like
Not
it's
really,
just Gene
no.
Stealers? Right, they feel like
No.
Imperial Guard Gene Stealer
Well,
things
now
or
that
something. Like,
now they have the Van Morrison Leapers or whatever the heck they're called. Like they're like baby Lictors essentially. You could do a whole team with those guys and a special Lictor, and it would be so
Okay.
cool. And it's what you would play.
so we're at almost an hour, but I want to get to this. So
All right.
one of the things that I think is very cool about this kill team are the modes of play. So you've got a solo mode of play, which I think is very unique. So it's unique to all GW games, right? So you've got the ability to play by yourself if you want. You have the ability to play with a friend and play against the AI just like you would in a solo version, which I think is hugely
PvE.
beneficial to teaching someone the game. Or if you have someone that doesn't want to, like, they're not overly competitive, but they want to play a game and they want to do whatever. Like, sometimes people just don't want to get beaten, or they want to, you know, shoot the shit and play a cooperative game and not be an adversary to their friend or whatever.
They're there to tell the story, not to win a game.
Yeah. You know, and something else I think that is very, very cool is you slap 2 of the 18 by 22s together and you get a 44 by 36 board and you play 4 on 4. That is super fucking cool. Like, I can remember back, and I don't know who listens to this podcast and whatever, but one of the coolest things we did at the store, man, I don't know, it was pre-COVID. It was AOS. It was like me and Chase and Mitchum and Drew and just a bunch of people. We had like 8 people playing, I don't know how many points it was, but small war bands in AOS fighting each other. And it was like an 8v8, just kind of everybody go at it, everybody. And it was so fun. Like, we were all just trying to kill each other and all this kind of stuff, you know, talking across the table. Hey, you go take this guy out. You can get the same stuff with Kill Team now. Yeah. And I think that's super cool. Like, you know, I've seen huge, like, epic scale 40K battles. Man, that takes like 7 days to set up and then like 35 days to play. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, and you know, the key difference there that for me as a tournament organizer, the one that adds a new event type for me to run.
Sure.
Right.
For sure.
That's marvelous, right? I get more people I wouldn't have got before, like you just said. You as a store owner can sell it to people who maybe wouldn't have before. I can get people to play who wouldn't have before. But then also, everything you just talked about, while that's fun, it's homebrew, right? And that's a struggle for like an organizer to do. Like, yeah, we could all meet up and randomly do this, but if I wanted to run an actual event like that, it's homebrew. Now it's not homebrew. I have a rule book I can read to help me. Oh, I didn't think about that. Crap. And I'm in the middle of an event I just made up. I don't have to do that, right? There's a rule book for me now that it's GW did this for me. It's structured. It's official. And people also, I don't know why they're this way. I am guilty of this. If it's not official, I'm not interested, right?
Sure.
So like, oh, well, this is official now. Like, this is a real deal. It's. I'm going to take it seriously. I can actually go play the PvE game mode. I love that. Everything you just said carries right over to the TO perspective.
Commander. So, talking about Magic Commander is the fastest and growing and most popular format of Magic played right now. It's 4 dudes. Okay, I say dudes.
4 dudettes.
It could be dudettes. So it's 4 players sitting at a table playing against one another in a little bit more of a casual environment than now. It can be very competitive and end in like 30 seconds, but so it's typically 4 people sitting around a table playing in a more casual environment, just kind of shooting the shit and playing around with like cool combos and stuff that they wouldn't normally play with. And now you can do that with a miniatures game. So a one-on-one, like a 4v4 or whatever. I don't know how that works out, but you can play that now as a normal game mode.
Yeah.
So you can just sit down at a table, grab your pretzels and your beer and sit around and play. You can talk across the table. There can be, stuff involved. Maybe there's even a different, mode of like a team playing, like diagonal partners or something like that, or 2v2 or something else that can go in there. But
whatever it is.
But that's super cool that we have that in a miniatures game in a format that can be played relatively quickly too. Yeah. I think it's really great.
But I think this, honestly, Mike. Sorry, go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say the new format I think is great. I'm hoping for almost a narrative version of it, though, the PvE stuff.
They've shown us that they'll do that too, because we had the Inquisitor versus Cultist box that came out in version 2. Mm-hmm. That entire box was a campaign box. Like I have it, and it's like it's a narrative box. It was not designed for those teams can be played in tournament play, but that box set has no competitive play components other than the teams. Everything else in it is narrative play. So they've shown us they'll do that. I think that's how they've board gamed it, right? If we want to call it that, they've board gamed it. And just like any good board game, they'll want expansions. So maybe they'll release an old One-Eye, PvE experience, right?
Sure.
Like, hey, we want to do a new old One-Eye sculpt. Here's how we do it.
Or like MCP has done, where you have this Dormammu box, right?
Yeah.
So that's
all their big bad fights.
Yeah, so that's an organized play kit and stuff, right?
Yep. But Thanos, Dormammu, Apocalypse, all of those.
So what if you organize, or so what if you put out like a thing, like say, hey guys, as store owners, if you want to do this thing, run 1 Bloodthirster and 10 Cultists, and like now you're fighting this Chaos Demon guy that these Cultists have conjured up, and you've got to get this.
And that's exactly what the narrative is you're trying to stop the cultists from summoning
that would be so cool.
a demon.
Like it'd be easy for a store to run. Like you don't need 37, Bloodthirsters or whatever. You just need 1, and you just run people through it, and you have them doing something else, the other times. But you give them a time limit, a thing they have to do. Like maybe whoever has the most victory points at the end, wins, or they play off or whatever. But there's so many options available here. And I think that they've set a good framework and foundation for us to be able to go through and do a PvE, a PvP, a multiplayer version, like all these things. They've kind of started to think about this kind of stuff, and I think it's super great.
So I think that segues, we've basically been talking about it already, but our last couple of points is like, I wanted to get each of our perspectives from a player, a TO, and a store owner. Why is this a game you should own or carry? And we've kind of covered that a little bit here from just that whole conversation. But to be more clear on it, Mike, like punctually, what would be a, like, why are you, all that you just said, how would you say that? As like, if you had to give a mission statement on why you would carry Kill Team, what would it be?
So me as a store owner, I have to look at the customer perspective, right? So I'm trying to sell a product and trying to deliver an experience to a customer, typically. So some people come in, they just want to buy stuff, and they want to leave and do their own thing, and that's cool and like whatever. And I'll sell them stuff for sure, but like most of the people, I want my customers to come in and be part of a community. And I think that around Kill Team, you can easily develop a community, sell a lot of product because it's GW, right? But you can build a good community because it's a good game to play. They can play with one another. They can do it cooperatively. They can do it competitively. They can do it narratively. There's a lot of ways to play, and I think it's
Covers
just a
so many
great
bases.
game. I think it's a great game for a store to have because you have all these different modes and ways to play, and you can sell a lot of product because, like, anytime I just say for Legion, for instance, if I'm selling Drew, if he buys if he comes in, he's a new Star Wars Legion player. I sell him the core set. He wants to because he wants to play Luke Skywalker and a bunch of fucking rebels and whatever. So I mean, he's only got a few ways to go after that, and he's building a 1,000-point rebel list. In Kill Team, you could come in, you could buy Farstalkers, you could buy,
Split the box
Scions.
with, Scions and
Yeah,
Vestids,
you
or
could buy Commandos, you could buy, Pathfinders, you could buy Corsairs, you could buy some
yeah.
sort of Space Marine thing, you could buy, Grey Knights, you could
And
buy.
for cheaper, you're getting a new experience.
Yeah, you are every time. And if that wants to segue you into 40K because you super like the lore and a larger version of the game, then cool. But if not, man, you can keep buying these $60
Well,
things that are self-sufficient and play the game over and over and over again and have a new experience every time. Whereas if you're playing a large scale army game, you're not getting a new experience every time. You're just getting
right. You're committed
like
to
a
your one
different.
place.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh, like cool. I added, 1 unit of Wookiees to my rebels,
Well,
or whatever.
and briefly on the, you mentioned the, like, you could segue. I forgot to mention this with the rotation thing. Like, I think it's really clever of GW because we've mentioned you just need a box, and I want to be clear to anybody who's listening to this. Most of the time, you need the one box to get started. You're probably going to need, there's a few exceptions to this, but you're probably going to need at least 2 boxes for, like, tournament play, because you want to be able to build every option for your Kill Team, and you don't have enough models in just the one box for absolutely every little change. So most of the time you're needing 2 boxes, which is still not that big of a deal. It's still pretty cheap. Well, by forcing a rotation like they are, GW is looking at it like, okay, well, if they need to buy 2 squads of commandos, but now they're going to need 2 squads of knobs, and then maybe after the knobs rotate out, they're going to come out with a Gretchen squad. Well, you need 2 squads of the Gretchens. Well, you now have 6 squads of orcs, and you're like, well, crap, I'm actually pretty close to playing a combat patrol or a 1,000-point game of 40K than I thought. And then from that point, you're a lot closer to a 2,000-point 40K army than you thought, and there you go. Or like you just said, the player can invest that money into a whole other new Kill Team for a new experience as well, and kind of spread their investments out, and everybody's happy either way, right? Like you're getting to reuse old teams in a new game, or you're trying new teams out at a low cost. And as a TO, right, from my perspective on it, why I think you should get the game or support the game as a TO is I'm going to ride the brand a little bit here, because one of the things I want to be firm on is, like, what's the difference between this and Kill Team in another game, like another skirmish game. We could say a lot of these things about, oh, it's quick. Well, any skirmish game's quick, or can be, other than Malifaux. The thing about the thing about it is the brand does carry it hard, because the fact that I know I've got a bigger company that can support the game. It's going to stay around. It's going to get consistent updates. It's going to get love, and it's a lot easier. Like if you're a new TO, I would push Kill Team, because you're going to have a community just kind of jump up and get you quicker than you would think. You don't have to do as much. You don't have to put as much effort into it, because the franchise is so big. People are already wanting to be, or already are invested. So the combination of the company supporting the game and the player base being larger, it's a lot smoother to run a GW game as a TO. And KillTeam doesn't take 3 hours, so that's the plus side to it over another GW game.
Yeah, I'd say from the player's perspective of why you should carry it, you have a good point. It has all that. I would say mostly the streamlined rules. I mean, I know all skirmish games, they all try to get streamlined rules, but this one definitely it's very simple. It's easy to pick up. Besides cost and all that stuff, it's just so easy for you to come in, learn the game in like one time, and then you're like, okay. Besides little, in cases here and there that might come up, you've basically got the game down. You're ready to play again, and it'll be faster and faster each time you keep playing. And I think that's kind of what I really like. It is as soon as I pick it up and I play that first game, I'm probably good for future games, except little things like, oh, I forgot about this vantage point rule or something like that. But
Yeah.
there's not that many cases of that.
Well, and you look at
It's not-
Infinity or like Malifaux, right? I mean, we give Malifaux a lot of crap about it being a long game. Infinity's not a long game, but they have a complicated rule set, and so does Malifaux. KillTeam's nothing like that.
So
right?
one of the things, so I was around when Magic came out, right? So I didn't buy in as soon as it came out, whatever. But we were D&D players. We were hanging out at the comic book store, playing D&D, that kind of stuff. Magic came out, yeah, like whatever, fuck off. And so eventually we bought in. And one of the reasons that Magic caught on so quickly was the instantaneous gratification was there, right? So you could play many games in a short amount of time. You could immediately change your deck, change colors, change whatever. We're getting to the point with KillTeam now that you can do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not,
And that's
it's
why
not
the rotation's coming.
It's not cost prohibitive. So where building 1,000-point Legion army is cost prohibitive to do 4 or 5 of those out of the same, with lack of a better term, Grand Alliance or faction or whatever. Like, so if you start building Gar, man, you're going to build clones. Like, you're going to build Wookiees. You're going to build, something with the same type of things. Like, if you're in droids, you're going to build droids. You're going to build Dooku. You're going to build Maul.
Yeah, you don't
you're
have
going to build
try out
whatever.
numbers.
Yeah, you don't have the ability just to flop over and run rebels. But with this, like I said before, you can do Farstriders. You can do Pathfinders. You can do Space Marines. You can do Sisters of Battle. All these kind of different things, and so quickly. Now, it does take some time to paint and stuff like that, but everybody realizes, like Seas of Gray is a thing, right? Like, everybody has a shelf of shame and whatever, and we all get that. But I think this is leaning into letting people have many different opportunities and experiences within the same game very quickly. I think it's great.
So then
Right.
I'm gonna immediately proc your love for it by saying, why shouldn't you carry it then, Mike? Like, what's the biggest reason a store shouldn't carry the game? That's the catch.
Well, one of the reasons that the store shouldn't carry the game is because GW is hard to work with. They've gotten easier to work with, but like, they still know that they are the top miniature selling company in the world, and sometimes they treat the store owners like shit, and the customers like shit, and it's like, well, I don't care if you don't like it or whatever, but if you want to play this way, you're going to have to buy 2 new boxes of Space Marines to make 1 unit. We get it, but this is what we're doing because we want to make money. And they build rule sets sometimes to sell models, and that's hard on the community in general. And I think, like, if anything else, I think there are other companies that do things that want to be very customer centric and those kind of things. GW is not customer centric, right? They are there to make money. They do a good job of it. They don't produce the best rules all the time, but they do produce the best models, and then they try to sell those models. Sometimes they miss the mark, sometimes they hit it, but that's kind of my thing. It's they don't make the best paint, but you got to carry it because everybody wants Abaddon Black instead of just fucking Coal Black from Pro Acryl. Like, I don't get it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yep. Well, because that's how they market it, right? On the back of the box,
Right.
it tells you the paint
Right.
you need. They don't say
Right.
black; they see Abaddon black, right?
Right.
Any black paint will do. No, it has to be Abaddon black.
It has to be
So
this color.
for a TO, why I wouldn't support the game. And again, this is like we're kind of pulling teeth almost. I think some of us to say why we wouldn't, but for the sake of transparency, the upside of having a game company support your game and give it constant updates can at the very same time be a TO's downfall. Games Workshop, love it or hate it, updates their games every 3 to 4 months, and they've already said with KillTeam that's also going to be true. As a TO, again, if you're a newer TO, you can fall behind. So if you have, like right now, there's so much information to digest because they updated literally every team for the new edition. Well, in 4 months, when there's a chance that all like 20 teams update again, you have to read that information, keep up with it, understand it, get games under your belt to, the rules are simple, like John said, but there's a lot of them. And especially when it comes down to the teams, right? The core rules aren't going to get a lot of changes, but each team's little quirk or nerf or buff or whatever, you have to be on top of that. And if you're not, you can't be, every 3 months you just got to have your, radar on of like, oh, update happened. Let me get caught up. Okay, cool. Here we are. That can be a challenge for some people. Now, hopefully, we didn't mention this. Surprisingly, there's an app. It's fantastic. They have an app now for the game.
How did we gloss over that?
Yeah, we went the whole time.
I don't even know.
The app is
because it's going to
wonderful.
get paywalled. It is.
That is also true. It could get paywalled. But currently there is an app, which as far as we've looked at it so far, like it's probably the best GW app they've ever had. It's wonderful. It has all the rules. You just got to download your data cards. You can look at them. You can look at it live. It's pretty sweet. Updates, if that app does not get paywalled, updates will be so much easier to keep up with than it was before, where you're having to look at various Warhammer community articles, going to their Warhammer community downloads page, hoping it got uploaded on time, downloading it, understanding the errata. No, you can just look at whatever team you heard got changed, read their data cards real quick on your phone, and then be good.
Well, one thing about the app is that it doesn't have the full set of rules. It has the light rules, right?
Right.
So you have to dig into the rules, whether from the rule book or however else you're going to get the rules set.
But the team's rules are the data card. Their data cards at least are available, and that's going to be stuff that will change, right, for the quarterly updates. So that's the only fear I would have. That's the only word of caution I would say is as a TO. If you're wanting a game that you can just pick up and play at any time and run events for, this may not be the game for that, because if you haven't played in 6 months, you've missed 2 waves of updates, and that's a challenge. But so John, where are you at as a player on what's your biggest reason you wouldn't support the game?
My biggest reason, it kind of bleeds over to Mike's, but at a player perspective of it is, usually I've been having trouble with GW just supplying the stores and everything with what you need as the player. Like let's say this Hive Storm, we get done with it and we have the card op packs that the store has now, and those get sold out. Well, a lot of stores and a lot of places, especially in our area, have trouble getting that reorder, and like they're just like, oh, we're sold out for forever, and it's like, but you can't play the game without this. So
there's a couple of things there, and I'll just talk to you about this from a store owner perspective. While I get that, and I agree with that, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? So one is that printed products from GW just don't sell very well anymore because someone leaks them out. They're available online in a free PDF format or something else, or GW puts them out there or whatever. Then they want to sell us this $30 box of cards that we're supposed to try and sell that nobody wants to buy at that point. So the store owners don't buy them, in large supply, and then GW only prints them once. So once they're gone, they're gone. So it's kind of a difficult situation for everybody, though I understand the store owner perspective for sure. And I understand the player perspective as well, because I have to listen to that and I'm a player, right? So,
right.
And that's definitely valid for printed products, but there's even model kits that they don't restock efficiently. Like, I mean, a big one was Guardsman, right? When the Deathcore Creed kits came out, they sold out like crazy. They couldn't keep up with the demand because 40K players wanted them and Kill Team players wanted them. And that's the risk of having a Kill Team that's also a very strong unit in 40K
For sure.
is that, well, you have two pools of people buying it out. And if you're
that's
not
their short-sightedness, right? So that's them not looking at the 40K aspect. Like, oh, Justin now, like I know he plays Chaos, but like Justin's going to go buy 4 boxes of the Death Creed Kill Team, because he can't get them in a 40K box.
Yeah, they're only the same box.
And now the Kill Team dude can't get them because the 40K player bought them all and has no interest in playing Kill Team.
Right.
But that's just the way it goes. I mean, I get it, it's just the way it is, I guess.
Right.
Well, I think we've been pretty fair. John, go ahead though.
Right. I was just gonna say, I mean, that's one thing. I think the other thing is like, so Drew, you own a Commandos kit, right? Did you have tokens associated with the markers and tokens that?
No. Here goes the token.
Sorry. Yeah, the tokens thing. It's a crucial thing. It's like, hey, it's an explosive token. It's a dynamite token. These are things you would use in the game. How do you get these?
I don't think that's a crucial thing at all. I don't. You can use it.
I would disagree.
Tokens.
I mean,
tokens in the rules of Kill Team are placed on a point in the map, so you can use literally anything as a token. So like, I can go. I don't need my team's branded token. I can get a 25mm base. I can make my own token. I can pop out a random token from the. I mean, people do this in Legion too, right? Like, immobilized tokens, right? I don't know anybody. There's very few people I've seen that even have those. So I'm like, all right, cool. Hey, this weird token, I don't even know what it's used for. That'll be my burst of speed immobilized token for right now. All right, cool. Move it. Now it's done. All right.
I guess it's just my I like if you have something as a game, and you're saying you should have this, there's a way to supply to give it to the player who has that.
But that's also all new. Like that's not
true.
been like none of the existing Kill Teams came out with token sets. So it's not like a new team is now behind, right? Or any of the existing teams are now behind. The only teams who have their own like official tokens released to the public right now are the Scions and the Vespids. Nobody else has had those, unless maybe there's some in the Cultist Inquisitor box.
I think the new packaging with the new like some of the stuff. I think packaging now includes the tokens for
the new teams.
So that'd be cool if it included the tokens and the cards. That'd be super cool.
Yeah, I don't think it includes the cards still, but the tokens,
but
which
it
is
should.
like,
I mean, because you only need like 6 cards, right? Like, I mean, so to buy those separate would be kind of ridiculous unless they had a whole pack of cards for each season of Kill Team.
So some of these teams can have quite a bit of cards, but I mean, I'm just gonna look at their website right now.
Something else. So as I know we're winding down, but I wanted to pull out a point I just now thought about was
the new Kill Teams do have their tokens for the record. I'm looking at it now.
Action
and
points.
The cards are sold separately.
I think it's super cool that different levels of I don't know whether units or models or whatever have different levels of action points. I think that's kind of neat. Where your leader might have 3 or 4 action points and your like regular little schlub has 2. I think that's kind of neat where you can give one guy more the ability to do more stuff because he's more important than the other guy. I think that's kind of neat too.
That is really fun.
Masters and Henchmen and Malifaux got it.
So you have
so Malifaux takes 4 hours to play.
Any of the repackaged teams that they've released right now, like Commandos. So not everybody's been reboxed yet, but any of the teams that have been reboxed come with their models and a pop-out token sheet. And then each of the repackaged teams also have separately for $33.50 a data card box. That contains the unit cards and any of their ploys and equipment.
Right.
That is what you're getting. So they do have a separate thing to buy that are the cards. The cards do not come with your Kill Teams box.
Which I'm not really concerned about the cards because I mean there's
most of it's gonna be digital anyways.
Yeah, most of that's going to be digital, and it's going to get updated, so don't worry about that. But
Everything Mike just said he hated carrying it for. Yep.
yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to happen, right? Is they're going to those cards will be available now. It even says available while stock lasts. That means to me that in 6 months, when it's out of stock, they're not going to make them anymore, and somebody's online going to put them out for free.
I don't think those
So-
cards are really as important as the Crit Op pack, or I think it's called, or something like that. The
The
2024 Crit Op
tournament pack, yeah,
Yeah, the ones that actually includes the missions,
that you
includes all
do need to play. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like those should always be in store unless you're saying, okay,
Approved
this is
ops.
2025. Yeah, approved ops. And then in 6 months, whenever that gets updated again, you'll have approved ops pack again. But
like I'm looking at these tokens though too. Like I'm looking at the scout team. It's literally half the pop outs are tokens that have just skulls on them with a symbol. You could use whatever you wanted for that. The other ones are a number with a symbol, and then the other ones are a different kind of grenade to show that they have this grenade upgrade. You could use so many different things for that.
I think you could. But the thing is like you either make it yourself, which I've done it before. I've taken poker chips and written on them what they are, and I hate playing with those. I threw them away at some point because I just like having something that feels thematic or feels good to see on the board. I'm also a very avid, and this just might be my popular opinion. I'm just very against cardboard. I hate cardboard out the wazoo.
Well, then you're SOL on that because you're never going to get really anything but a cardboard from GW. Anytime they do acrylic stuff, it's like limited edition, limited release. So
Right, but I'm just saying if I am gonna get the cardboard, from them for my team specifically, I'd like to have those because I can take the cardboard, I can take a base, and I can sit there and UV resin on top of it, and now have me
Mike,
something that's
we
a
better
little
get
bit
this
better.
man some tokens. Is all I'm hearing. He's just he ain't gonna play the game until he gets some tokens.
Merlin,
He's
this
dying
guy's out
on
of
this.
whack.
Yeah,
This guy's crazy.
This guy is.
He wants the things that
You know what
he
you could do
expects
also?
to have for his team.
You could print those pictures off, put them on a base, and then use that resin over that base and
I could
token.
do that, I guess. Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up. We have I think we've been pretty fair on overall. I think we're all pretty pro kill team. I know we're all pretty excited about it. With that being said, to end it all, what's the one thing we're all the most excited for? A model, a mechanic, the lore, whatever, for Kill Team. A final statement. What do we got? Mike, what's the thing you're most excited for?
Well, I just want to play a game. So I'm excited to play a game, but I'm excited to play, I think, multiplayer. I'm not into multiplayer casual games for the most part, but miniature things are really fun, and I think it's going to be super cool. Like, what if me, you, John, and Mitchum sit down to play a game of Kill Team? Now, I think that'd be super fun, and that's something I look forward to, is being able to play like a 4v4, like, or 1v4, whatever. I mean, have 1v1v1v1.
Yeah,
Kill Team.
1v1v1v1. Yeah.
Yep. I think it's cool.
Yeah. John, what about you?
I'd probably say I'm most excited for the new victory points. I know I know you're worried about them, and a lot of people are, but I think it just adds a little bit more strategic. Which one am I going to choose to be the one that gives me the bonus points, and try to allude to maybe psych out my person. Maybe I start being killy, and they're like, "Oh, he's going for the kill ops," and then I'm like, "Nope,
That
sorry,
shell
I'm
game.
going for crit ops." Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For me, it's the fact that the game is still around. I think it's one of the best ways I'm excited for it all, essentially, because it's one of the best ways, I think, for anyone to get into the 40K universe at any time. I have a hate-love relationship with 40K. I play it here and there. I play it casually. I tried playing it competitively. But I can't keep up with it. It's too expensive, and that's somebody who's a seasoned wargamer. Think about the newbie, right? They're having all that hit them in the face right away. Kill Team, you don't have to worry about it. So I love that GW is still supporting the game strong. We're always also seeing new stuff coming out. Like, if you would have asked me, 5 years ago when I started playing 40K again, Night Lords is my favorite Legion. If you would have said, hey man, there's going to be a Night Lords Kill Team come out in 5 years where you get a whole new upgrade sprue and everything to make a Night Lords Chaos army, I wouldn't have believed you. So the fact that Kill Team is around, the same thing with the Deathcore Creek. Nobody would have ever thought they would have left Forge World. So the fact that KillTeam is still around gives a lot of exciting hope for us to see stuff like Exodites, see stuff like,
Man, why you got to bring
Meptor.
up Exodites? Exodites ain't been out since like the 90s.
Still, I mean, neither were RBDs. RBDs have never had a model really, and they've only been like mentioned in lore. But now we have an entire RBDs kill team that has rules in 40k. Why I can't? The last time I've seen an RBDs model was Pewter. Like, so anything's possible because of kill team, and this is, I think, GW's creative outlet to do that kind of stuff, and I totally support it.
Yep, I think it's cool.
All right, Tourist. I think we've taken you on a much longer ride than the original recording, but you guys, by now, if you're listening, you have come to expect
16 minutes longer than the original.
That's fair. Add the intro, and it's going to be like a half a minute more. I think that's it. Let's wrap that up.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
We were going to be shorter this time because we're going to be more concise.
Because we knew
more.
Now we know dry runs.
15
pointless.
longer.
No. The more knowledge you have, the more you have to talk about.
That's the problem. Yeah, we recorded it before the release the last time, so now we have more info. But
yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a good one.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.